Good morning and welcome back to the Adventures of Mac and Anthea and part 4 of the Great Southern Spain Railway. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to get straight on with this bike ride, so you've at least got some decent scenery to look at whilst I'm rabbiting away there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch up the people who haven't seen one of these videos before of the Great Southern Spain Railway, and then I'll give you some facts about this route which we're taking today, which is from Olula del Rio to Seron. And here we go, we're just coming onto the edge of Olula del Rio. This actually isn't an original bridge we're going over here. This was actually put on that later since we've been here. Okay, so for those guys of you out there who are actually walking or biking the entire route, this route coming up here, or this place coming up here, is the perfect place to top up on supplies, and also the last place you can really top up on supplies before you hit Baffa, which is sort of 60-70 kilometres away. You've got a CCA there, which is a supermarket and ferreteria, and then a bit further down here on the right, about 50 metres, you've got a Mercadona. There's a hostel back there right next to this route, and then if you fancy somewhere a bit posher, there's a 3-star hotel called the Tierra here, which is right next to the route also. Okay, so we just come off a little bit, just for a short time, and we're going to rejoin the Via Verde here on our right in a minute. So this building you can see coming up on the left is the Mercadona I was talking about, and as I said, it's probably the last place you could get a decent supply of food before you go on to Baffa. The previous place, which I think was at the start of section 2 video of the Great Southern Spain Railway, was actually in Clabera, where the path of the Via Verde actually run along the side of Lidl's. This particular section isn't a big favourite with me, but it doesn't take long before we're out of this section and into the countryside. Okay, so what is the Great Southern Spain Railway? Well, the Great Southern Spain Railway was started construction in the late 1800s, and it started in Murcia, Spain, and continued all the way down parallel to the coast until it hit Clabera. Then it turned off down into the Almanzora Valley, all the way along the bottom of the Almanzora Valley, across to out the other end into Guadix, and then it turned off up to Granada. Now there's various sections. Some sections are still in use and still working railway. Some are disused but still laid to track, so you can't travel along. Some of them have been converted to Via Verde, I'll come back to that in a minute. And some of the sections are actually wild lost sections, which are probably some of the most interesting sections if I'm honest. So yeah, Via Verdes are actually translated as green ways. And what they are is they're converted railway lines. There's over 7,000 kilometres of disused railway line in Spain. And more than half of that has now been converted to basically bridleways for non-motorised vehicles, leisure activities. Okay, so this is the old restaurant bar. As you can see, it's pretty closed down now. It was doing well, I don't really know what happened. And this was an outdoor area which was built on, for even outdoor festivals. You can't really tell much, it's not particularly attractive on this side, but if I take you around to the other side, you can actually see the platform of the old railway station. Okay, as you can see, it's quite nice. You've got all the sort of the wrought iron balustrades and everything, and the ornamental stuff along the top there. It's quite a nice little building. I'm not sure it was a major actual station. I think it may have only been a passenger station. I don't know. It's certainly not as big a stop as the ones we're going to come up to soon, which are going to be major sort of agricultural and mining stops, which are particularly interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go to Mac Anthea and we'll carry on with the trail. Okay, so we're joining the drift trail from Pachena Station, and our next stop along the route is going to be a place called Cela, spelled C-E-L-A. Quite a major stop there. They've done quite a lot with the old sort of railway equipment and that, you know, to make it sort of an attraction. And there's also an old diesel locomotive there parked up there from dating back to the 1960s. Okay, so this is the point where things start to get a bit more interesting and a bit more of an attractive route. We're about to start moving away from the A334, which is a particularly busy road, but I mean it's nice to be, you know, inland a bit and away from the roads. So for those of you out there who are new to this series of videos about the Great Southern Spain Railway, we decided to make these videos after personally experiencing problems trying to find out exactly where the route started, where it finished, what areas were still laid to line, which were Greer Burr days, and which sections were Lost Wild sections. There was no real information out there. I mean, when you research, there's lots of information. They go into great depths about the history and this and that, but it's all very higgledy-piggledy and disorganised, and seems to be completely absent of important information like where it actually starts, where it actually finishes, is there any parking there, where you can stay, all that sort of thing. All the important things you'd need to know when you plan to go along this route is completely absent in any of the literature. So we decided we were going to research this, travel to various points along the route to see actually whether you could get on there or bicycle or walk. We also consulted Google Maps, Google Earth, and eventually we discovered the route and decided to actually travel along it. So coming up here on our left is the village of Pachena, which is well worth a visit in its own right. Should you miss the Mercadona earlier on, it's quite easy to take a detour to this village. There are banks here, bars, mini markets, ferreterias, papelerias, and various places there to fulfil all your needs. So we're almost past Pachena now. We're continuing on to Cela. You can probably see ahead there, just up there on our right. You see this steel structure. This is actually an old water tower. This will date right back to the end of the 1800s, for when there was actual steam trains coming along here to actually, you know, top up the boiler. Now, an interesting fact actually about this tank is this one's have actually been filled with local water. The water here is very hard. There's a lot of limescale in it, and to this day it's still causing havoc with, you know, the appliances in the houses and the taps now. So you can imagine, you know, the disaster it caused in the boilers of steam engines. So actually these tanks were filled with water actually imported from elsewhere where it's a lot softer and had a lot less of a lime scale and even an iron content. So if you wanted to walk this old route of the GSSR railway line, where can you start? Well, actually we discovered in the end that the actual start point where you can first walk or cycle it in a village called Almendricos. At that point there's a spur that goes off to a place called Argaleas, which I think is disused but is still laid to track. That's a story for another day. But the main track starts there at Almendricos and continues on to Ueclabera. That section I would prefer to do it by bicycle. I wouldn't want to walk it because the scenery isn't, you know, very diverse. You know, you've basically got the same scenery for a long time. So I certainly prefer to do that on bicycle. Whereas, you know, when I'm hiking, I prefer diverse scenery quite quickly so that you're not looking at the same view, you know, for 20 kilometres. The second section is actually a wild lost section, and one we really enjoyed, and I walked that with my friend Mike, who you may have seen in previous videos. Yeah, tough trail. We had to scramble up and we tried to stay as true to the route as we possibly could. And we managed to do that just with very, very sore feet by the end of it. But a good interesting route. It can be done on bicycle also if you don't sort of stick to the trail. There's alternatives that follow the side of the old railway route down Ramblers and that. Very pretty route, very interesting route, and certainly worth a look. That finally ended in a place called Arbaleas, which was the start of section 3. And that is a particularly good trail as well. It's a bit busy on the edge of Arbaleas. It's a bit of an British enclave or an expat enclave, which not personally doesn't suit me very well. But once you get out of that, you know, you get down. That is a very pretty route that follows the Rambla, and we carried that all the way on to Olula del Rio, where we started this route today. Now, from when we finish this today in Seron, we've got sort of one more section which will take us up to Baffa, which is Via Verde. Again, that's a particularly long section. I think we'll end up having to stay in a hostel and then come back the next day. And then after that, we've got another long section again, which I think is wild, untamed trail, which could be really interesting. So I'm thinking, yeah, after this one today, there'll be two more videos at least. So we're on the middle of December. It's a Sunday again. I think it's the 15th or something like that. We picked the Sunday again because it's a nice day. About high 16 degrees, but we've actually got quite a cold westerly wind blowing down the valley here and straight down into our faces on this track. It's not too bad. Hopefully these new marks are coping with it and we're getting good audio still. The drone certainly doesn't like it. We've tried him on follow a few times and the wind blows him off and he loses track of us. So yeah, we've had to bin that. Following on the storm damage here, look at this. Whoa, let's stop and have a quick look.
Oh, don't stop in front of me. God, it's quite a bit damage there, isn't it?
Oh, look at all that. Yep, that's really narrowed the trail. Yeah, the storm damage really was quite bad here. We had about 500 litres of water per square metre within 8 hours. So you can imagine the damage, and of course, as you probably saw in the news, Valencia got it particularly bad. It's bad enough here. It's really rutted everything up. Another lovely little bridge. Well, hopefully this isn't going to go on for long. Okay, so we're out of that rough bit. It was only a couple of 100 metres, so yeah, it wasn't bad at all. Not too bad now on here. Nice view here over to the left of Tatiki. You may have heard me mention that several times in the past on my videos. One of the highest points around here at 2,080 metres high. We're planning a bicycle ride on trail similar to this up to that in the future. Whether we'll make it or not's another thing. Okay, so we're going up to a particularly nice section here. We've got the double bridges and actually a stone bridge then ahead. These have all been renovated, but they're all original, all in the old sort of industrial age style. I would have liked to do some more drone footage here, but with the wind I don't think I'm going to bother. I've got some old B-roll of which the drone footage on that is pretty good, so I'll put that into this video in editing. Be interested to see how much damage we've had here. You see from these bridges, if you watched part 2 of the Lost Wild Trail when I went with Mike, they had these bridges here with these sort of walkways on the sides. So they've obviously just poured in between. If they ever do turn that into Via Verde, which is a shame that they haven't, that's probably what they're doing with those bridges, and they're huge and quite high up and longer as well. They make a really good walk. Another lovely old original stone bridge here again. I've got B-roll of this and I shall put it in for you in editing. Well, looks like we've got a lot more damage here. This poor old bridge was already suffering a bit. Yeah, that's going to be down soon. Okay, and I think we're just coming into the outskirts of Sella. The small town you can see over there in the distance is Tickler. This here is the next nearest olive oil plant to us after the one we've got in the village. And so we're entering Sala, the railway station at Sala. Some of the tracks are still laid here, down here with the points. You can see a lot of the old railway buildings up there ahead. And in a minute, unless someone's moved it, there should be a bloody great diesel locomotive here as well.
No, it's there.
Is it there still?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
There it is, yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop for a break here. They've actually got some, do you fancy these picnic tables here, Anthea, or do you want to go further in?
Go here if you want.
Yeah, we'll stop at these picnic tables here. So that looks a nice little stop here that's just been developed. This wasn't here last time we came. I'm glad we stopped here because I've just noticed there's an old railway bridge here. And if you look along here, it reads Henry Poole and Sons Limited. Makers Liverpool. There you go. So yeah, classic example. A lot of this railway line was actually built by British companies, and all this stuff was actually, including the locomotives, was brought over by ship and assembled in the port of Argelaeus. That's actually a spur off the main line, which we will go to at some point because they've actually got a diesel locomotive there, the only remaining one left in existence from this line. We've mentioned this in the past, but if you look at that diesel locomotive and that tunnel which we went through back there, you probably guessed as we have that that's not getting through that. So they probably had this diesel locomotive and it stopped there because it's probably as far as it can go. It's certainly not getting through that tunnel we went through on the way. A similar problem they actually had with the modern locomotives. They ordered some trains recently here in Spain and then found that they wouldn't go through the tunnels. Yeah, something Anthea's just come up with, yeah, which I think she's probably right. I bet this gauge here is actually a gauge for the tunnel, so that they can come on the weighbridge, pull underneath here and see if they can actually get through the tunnel ahead. Well spotted there, Anthea. Yeah. Oh, it looks like we've got the old weight scales inside still intact as well. Let's go have a quick look at that. Oh, look at that. All the old weighing scales in there. It looks like it's probably seized up, but it's 150 years old, so yeah, no surprise there. Gonna lift? No, actually it's not. Look at that. Brilliant. Okay, I think it's time for a sandwich. Okay, so we've finished our sandwiches and we've pedalled down to the main station here. Again, this is the railway station. It's been converted into a restaurant bar. Still quite a few of the nice old features, the old water towers and everything still remaining here. Some old-fashioned weigh scales. Old-fashioned water pump. I don't know if they were originally there or whether they've been put there for features, but yeah, it's all been nicely done. Okay, so that's Sala, which is actually labelled as Tickler railway station, but the actual little village here is Sala. So that's Sala in the rear view mirror, and we're continuing now on the final little stretch up to Seron railway station. Now as we pass through here, it starts to get even more interesting. We just obviously that way we've just been through is a hub. You know, there's sidings there, there's a weigh bridge there, all ready to weigh iron ore and what have you before it continued on to the ports. Well, what's coming up in a bit is actually where the cables from the mines, which are up in the sort of the mountains up there to the left. We've actually done a video on that as well. There was an old mining settlement up there which mined iron ore, and that came down all the way, must have been a good 7 to 10 kilometres on cables, and we're loaded onto trains at the bottom here, and a lot of it is still intact, the railway station, and one of the loading bays where the trains used to drive for the tunnels and park, and then they'd load them into the top of the wagons. So yeah, it's a very interesting section of the Beer Birthday. So going along on this section here from Sala to Seron, we've only actually been on this section once before. We ride quite often down to Sala on the bike ride. Firstly because you know the track's just at the bottom of the road out of our village where it joins the main road. We can hit the Beer Birthday there. It's a particularly nice section of Beer Birthday. And we often use it for testing things like when we do modifications on e-bikes and things like that. It's a good test before we take it on any serious work up in the mountains, which we've done several times in the past. But this actual section, like I said, we've only been along once. So we're starting to get towards the edge of Seron now. On the left here you can see the Rambler, which is actually the bottom of the Almanthora Valley, and where a lot of the flood waters would have flown down earlier on when we had all the storms. Very pretty area. Just see over here to the right some of the older telegram wires of the posts and that have survived. Okay, so this is Seron coming up in the distance here. The actual railway station is actually the other side, but I've got a feeling, if I remember rightly, we'll actually hit the loading bays first with all the tunnels and everything. I think at this point I'd like to mention, you know, a guy who's worthy of note, or he will be, if I can remember his name, I'll write it in the subtitles. But there's actually an engineer who is responsible actually for getting this finished, this railway line. They were really struggling to get it finished. There was money problems and of course the usual high levels of corruption and low levels of competence associated with Spain. And they really struggled to get this, GSSR really struggled to get this line going, and he was responsible for, you know, planning it all and getting, you know, pulling it all together. And even after it was completed, you know, it wasn't making any money. And he came back on the scene and diversified its use, you know, contacted big agricultural companies, big mining companies, and persuaded them to use the railway line, and it basically saved it from going under. This guy was a particularly interesting guy. I mean, he worked all over, he even built railways over in Brazil, and, you know, was here, there and everywhere around the world, which doesn't sound no great feat until you realise there was no planes then. You know, he was travelling everywhere by ocean liner, and he died in his 60s, actually, of unnatural causes. I don't remember exactly what it is. I'll write it again in the subtitles, but I think it was something daft, like probably, you know, infection from an injury, the sort of thing nobody would die of now. But after living in a, you know, really interesting lifestyle and contributing a lot, you know, and then finally dying off over something stupid like that, I think was quite sad. He's also responsible, because he was a photographer for most of the vintage photos, which I'll try and include in this video. He was responsible for all of that as well. So, okay, here we are at the loading bays here on the left, and I think I will try and get some drone footage because I haven't got any. Hopefully the wind isn't going to be too much of a hindrance. I don't think there's any access here for me to actually take you guys in and have a look, but I'll have a go. Okay, so as you can see, these are the loading docks where the trains would have actually backed through to those tunnels, and then from above there the iron ore would have been dropped into the top of the wagons. I don't think you can get down here, but it looks like there's some sort of path here, but I'm not sure how you actually get to that. From there you would have seen they would have come out this side in. I don't know, there's probably get a docket or something from that building over there, you know, a weight or whatever, or, you know, some sort of documentation from there, and then rejoin the main line here to carry on towards the coast. Just thought I'd bring you down here, have a quick look at this. I mean, putting aside that it's a lovely old, you know, wrought iron bridge there with cold rivets holding it together, you can actually see where the water level was and the debris in the bottom of the bridge there where it's got caught. So yes, the water would have been hitting that bridge, and this would normally be a hell of a lot deeper, this barranco. I would say probably another 3 or 4 metres deeper at this point. Before it goes under the bridge there. So that's filled up with all shale and everything from all the surrounding land from all the storms. Okay, so I think I'm going to get back up top there where Anthea's waiting patiently, and we'll carry on up to the station at Seron. So here we are at Seron railway station, and what is going to be the end of Sector 4 of our Great Southern Railway route. I think I'm going to shoot straight through and show you the start of the next section, and then circle back round and explore this, because it's quite an interesting part. You've got the railway station, you've got the mining sort of section where the mines join here, you've got workshops, you've got the turntables. It really was, you know, a major hub for all the railway and mining activity, and where those two activities joined. So Anthea's just going to quickly stop there and get our sandwiches out, and I'll just whisk through and show you the start of the next section. Okay, and this is going to be the end of section 4. So when we do section 5, we'll go straight across there. That will all be completely new to us, because we've never been on it. We think it's going to be quite a long route, and it's going to take us all the way up to Batha, so we've no idea what to expect there. So anyway, video for another day. I'll spin back round. I'm going to show you all the workings that are going on in this station, and then I think we'll call it the end of the video. Okay, we've got various railway buildings here. Something that always makes me laugh, even though I know, you know, a lot of this equipment was brought over from Britain. Still can't get over, you know, these things that are made, you know, marked up as being made in England. I mean, you've got here GSSR, W&T, Tavery. They're the makers, and this time instead of Liverpool, it's from London and Birmingham, and it's dated here 1889. Still going strong. Look at that. Yeah, again, I suspect a weighbridge. Okay, so from here, as we look back down the way we've come, you'll see Anthea in the distance down near the station. This is actually where the cables come from the mines, right up into the mountains, and they actually came in up here. I've got some vintage photos which I'll actually edit into this video, compliments of the guy I was talking about earlier. Yeah, and it shows all the cables and everything, and then obviously all the trains, some of the rails are gone, would have been along the bottom of the wall here. You can still see some of the rails there, still left intact, and obviously what would have been a locomotive workshop there. And here again we have the old railway station. Looks like it's closed at the minute. It's probably more of a seasonal thing, I suspect. Another bar and cafe, or another bar and restaurant. And some nice seats here provided. First have a quick sandwich before we return back. And here we have what I suspect is the actual locomotive turntable would have been here, I would guess. Not sure what that is, whether that's a well or something there. You can still see all the sleepers and some of the rails going back into what would have been the workshops for locomotive repairs. And then again up here you can see all the remnants of when all the cables used to come in and load the actual wagons up, again ready to go to the coastal port of Argelaeus. Okay, so I think we're going to call it the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll put a playlist on, a separate playlist with the GSSR railway routes we've been doing, so you can click on that and check out the previous videos we've done. Please also hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. So I think all that remains is to say goodbye from Seron in Andalusia.
Goodbye, Seron.
Goodbye, and we'll see you next time.